Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to another, or the first, I think, Coffee with JD. And this is a mug from, I think it's either a cousin of my wife or her aunt. I'm not sure how it breaks down because people that could be your aunts and uncles are like, 20 years older, and to me that gets weird. But still, cheers and good morning. And yes, I did say good morning. So if my voice is a little more croaky than usual, and that's the reason. And also the coffee. But I digress. This video is actually in regards to book events. A couple of people have asked me, how do you go? How have you done book events? It's not that I've done a ton of book events, but I've done 3 book events. I did one in the Bookmark in San Patricio Plaza in Puerto Rico. I did one in the Poets Passage in Old San Juan, and I did one in Libros AC. Also, all 3 are in Puerto Rico. Now that I'm stateside, well, we'll see how easy it is to do it here, but I think it's going to be pretty similar. People do ask me, how do you do it? And it's really hard. You go up to the manager and ask. I'm not being snarky. I'm saying that a lot of people think it's very difficult or that they're going to be told no. That happens, and that's completely fine and a logical way to think because a lot of us think that way. But even though I had the suspicion that someone might say no, they were actually pretty cool about it, all 3 occasions. And I actually could have done a 4th event, but I moved from Puerto Rico, and there's actually one that I'm gonna do when I go back. I do have to schedule that with the owner, but it all came about just because I walked up, I asked who the manager was. I didn't go with this attitude like, yeah, I have a book. No. Hi, I have a book. I'm wondering how I could do an event or if that's even possible. If not, that's completely okay, but I want to ask and not have that question in my mind. Is there any way that you can help me? That's it. Um, and I've done that repeatedly. Even when I came here to Georgia, I've asked at Barnes and Noble. I got an email that I have to write so that I can organize that. I talked to a local bookstore called the Tall Tales Bookstore, if I'm not mistaken. I do have to double check that. And I did go to a library to ask. Because if you don't know, you can't do anything. Just getting to that point to walk up and ask is the hard part. It is harder than a lot of people know. And I had just had lunch with my best friend. I was like, let's go to the bookstore. I'm going to ask if I can do an event. I went. The manager was busy. And I'm like, no worries. I am in no rush. I sat down. I bought a coffee with my own money. I didn't expect to be treated. I waited, I read, I chilled, I wrote a bit, and I waited for about an hour the first time I did this. Other times it was a lot quicker. And I'll get to, it's 3 events. I can tell you about each one. It took about an hour to talk to the manager. He was finally able to come and chat with me a bit because the store had been busy. I was just patient. I had nowhere else to go. I knew that I needed to do that. So I did. Sit down, no ego, saying I have this, I'd like to do this, I'd like to see how we can arrange something. Do you guys do it and do events? And if you do you charge anything or do I have to schedule or something? They told me that they didn't charge for the event and that I just needed I think that's the only store that told me that I needed to guarantee that there would be at least 5 people or something of the sorts. So I did it, and I did the event, and it was nice. And you know, standing up in front of people that you know and inviting them to judge you, it's always a bit harrowing, but it's not a bad thing. And and at all times, instead of remembering, oh, I have to say this or that, I always try to be genuine. And I really, if someone asked me a tricky question, I would give it some thought. It wouldn't be like a 4 minute lull. I wouldn't be like, uh, uh. But I would take a good 10 seconds to give it some thought. I want to talk about that, and I'll do a video about public speaking. But it went down great, and actually, a lot of people I know that went there, but 3 people I didn't know were actually in the store, and they went like meerkats. They came on over and they heard me waffle for about 35 to 40 minutes, and it was great. Um, then with the Poet's Passage, I went to that store. I had to go like 5 times, and it's not that they're stuck up or anything. Is that there's not many people in the store. They're not super organized, and I wanted to be in the store, and I wanted to get confirmation of dates and whatnot to see if I could put up some posters or something, and they were completely cool with it. I'm not sure if they're still there. It's actually a possibility that the posters are still at the store. Who knows? And that was like last year. Yeah, and someone went to the store and they saw the poster about 5 months ago and they took a picture. I'm like, yay! I'm still getting promotion. But yeah, I went there and I spoke. I spoke to one person, and I actually left a copy of my book, of Dark Strands. And I don't hear from them, and I don't hear from them, and I don't hear from them. And I went back to Old San Juan twice. It's not that it's a far drive. It's that there's no parking, and it's a bit hectic to get to the store. But I got to the store. um, until I was finally able to schedule a date and time. They were super flexible, super kind, super accommodating, in that sense. And the day of the event, the whole getting the mic to work, that was a complete adventure. And I wanted to do something different, so I did an evening with JD Estrada. If you go to my blog, I'll look for a link so that you can see it, and just a couple of videos on my YouTube channel of an evening with JD Estrada. So basically, I played guitar, and I read from all of my published works up to that moment, which were 5. Was there's the novel, the 3 poetry collections, and the daydreams. So I read from each one because I'm a big fan of poetry, and there's actually poetic elements in each of my works. I've noticed, even if it's a little song, there's gonna be something poetry like. But yeah, it was good fun. It was different. I messed up all except one song. It's not like a huge botch, but it's like I missed a note, and on one occasion I got a cramp in my hand, and I'm like, crap. And that song is Braille, and I was killing it. I was killing it. And you guys fell, and I'm not gonna edit that out. So you see, this is lo-fi. And then I got the claw. I'm like, but yeah, it was a night of fun. My brother bought a bottle of wine, so I had like 2 glasses of wine while talking. It was very bohemian, very, oh god, I'm so sophisticated. But it was cool. It was a mellow night, and I like that. I'm probably gonna try to do that again if there's some place that sells wine, because I don't think Barnes and Noble sells wine or allows wine. Also, I'm pretty sure Georgia's a dry state, so you gotta be careful. No, you don't want to be arrested for being a rebel. But yeah, and that was fun. They didn't keep any books. That's going to be another topic I'll talk about later about consignment. I'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. Uh, and the third event was Libros Hace. How did I get to that place? On one occasion, for my job, we were doing a training at a place in Puerto Rico called Seriously Creative. Very lovely workshop, very lovely people. Every time I went, it was a good time. Smart people, and I like interacting a lot with smart people and people who are wired differently, and they definitely fit the bill. But yeah, if you went out the back door, across the street was the bookstore, and I'm like, I gotta go ask. Um, so I did. I went, and the manager or store owner is a really dry guy. He's really straight to the point. Like, I got to do stuff. Professional, not rude, but he was like the other two people in the other stores, the other three people, because there were two people at the Poets Passage. Were very lovey-dovey, very kind. Oh my God, how can I accommodate you? This guy was super GI, and I was like, okay. Talk to him for information, and he literally went like, here's a flyer, here's the information. When you have that, you need to give us 2 weeks of notice so that we can see if we can schedule it. If we can schedule it, we will, and then we'll need the information of the books. And very, again, very professional, but very dry. But it was cool. He wasn't rude at all, and that's always refreshing to get to the point sometimes. So months passed, and and then I do the event at the Poets Passage. I had the Puerto Rico Comic Con, and I wanted a third event last year. So I called, and they were like, yeah, sure, you can have this date at this hour. Scheduled, did the event, boom. Uh, about book events. It's not like a ton of people went to my events for different reasons. For the first event, the mall where the store was at, and to get there, there's like 3 routes. Two of those 3 routes had accidents, like major accidents that completely blocked off, and I was amazed that so many people got there. That was at the Bookmark. Second event was at the Poets Passage. That day, um, there are a couple of superstitions that say that when it rains, it's blessings from God, and I agreed with that. Especially when there's a drought. Trust me, Puerto Rico had a drought in 2015, which was awful. And 2016 was monsoon season. That's the island. The particular day of my event, there was a downpour. It was nuts. It was nuts. And I told you that getting to the store isn't exactly easy. Most parkings are at least 4 blocks away. And people still got there. And random people still sat down and chatted with us for a bit. I'm like, hey, I don't know you. Nice to meet you. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you enjoy this slice of random. And then I kept on with my program. I was completely oblivious to the fact that I should worry that a stranger sat down and that I had to impress them. Because it's not about impressing them. It's about you and trying to have the best time possible, even if you're nervous. And yes, I do get nervous. Um, that's what happens. And then you hone in, you focus, and then you do the thing. But still, to that event, some old friends got there, and that was sweet, and it was very special, and even friends from from college. A friend and her husband got there at for the last, I don't know, 10 minutes. They drove like a long ways, and they got there for like 10 minutes. My family, Emilia Rizarri and her family came from Barceloneta. That's like a 40-minute drive. Uh, Pretty sure. She was there, and that was cool. Um, Again, it wasn't a huge crowd, but it was fun. And mom was there, and she's always supportive and loud. My parents-in-law also went. My wife is always there. what I'm going at, and or let me talk about the last event. The last event, there was actually no reason for people not to go, and there weren't that many people. It was a comfortable night. Traffic wasn't that bad, I think, but a lot of people didn't go. But some people did, and that's what I think you've got to focus. Some people say, "Oh, if I do a book event and only 5 people show up, what am I gonna do?" Well, you're gonna do the event. 5 people were kind enough to say, I want to listen to you for an hour, even if it's because I care about you. You're not supposed to half-ass it either. To show an example, uh, I used to love Incubus, and now I just like them because the last couple of albums have been kind of eh. Live, when they're motivated, they're a great band. I saw them live at Madison Square Garden, and they killed it. I also saw them live in Puerto Rico, and they just cashed the check. And that's a really harsh assessment, but it's very accurate. Whereas my favorite band is Pearl Jam, and it shall always be my favorite band. They will play their guts out for an arena or stadium, or if they do a book event, a store event where no more than 200 people can fit in. They always give their all, and you always have to give your all. If 5 people go, if 10 people go, if a million people go, it doesn't matter the amount. You always have to focus on giving your best, and I always try to focus on giving my best in my work and the events that I do, because it's important to me. It's important to me to not slack off, to not not have that diva attitude of, oh, not many people came, so I'm not gonna give my all. It's stupid. It's not that I'm a superstar or anything, but people did go to see me, so uh, I do have that responsibility to make their time worthwhile, and for them to have fun and to create memories and always have fun. So next time you're wondering how to get your foot in the door, maybe you just have to ask, because that's what I did once. And once you do it once, it's pretty easy to not care if someone eventually says no, because someone eventually will say no. And that's completely fine. Uh, I've got plenty of yeses, and that's pretty cool. So, by all means, give it a shot. For now, if you have any questions about the places and the events, or have questions or need advice if you're doing a book event and you think I could have any insight into it, by all means ask. Maybe we can discuss something and I'll help you out, or maybe the discussion will help you get to the place where you have to go. But do something about it. Ask, comments, look for other information, and go for it, because too many people bank on reincarnation. Uh, Personal beliefs aside, you should do your best to enjoy every day and enjoy your life as much as possible. And that's definitely what I'm trying to do. And luckily, I get to share some of it with you guys. So, till next time, peace, love, and maki rolls.